The Perimeter is brought to you in partnership with Speak Studios. Speak Studios. Speak and be heard. The Perimeter with Adam Morrison is brought to you by our official title sponsor, Mercedes-Benz of Spokane. Experience the best or nothing at Mercedes-Benz of Spokane with Dan Crowley and his exceptional team. They're located in beautiful Liberty Lake and his local family-owned dealership under Gee Automotive. Their staff prides itself on a personable and memorable experience from service to sales and will have you leaving the dealership feeling satisfied with a smile on your face all the way down the road. Back-to-back winners of the Best Civil Laurel Award receive invoice pricing on any new Mercedes-Benz in stock when you come in and mention the Perimeter podcast. You can check out all their available inventory at SpokaneMercedes.com, as well as stay up to date on all things Mercedes-Benz via their Facebook and Instagram pages. Call them at 509-455-9100 to schedule your Mercedes test drive today.
The Perimeter brings No Lie Craft Brews onto the podcast. Born and raised in Spokane, USA, No Lie Brewhouse is a hometown and international competitor made here. Their beers have traveled and won medals against the best breweries around the world. Over 46 international brewing medals and counting. They are not content, and they're always pushing forward to peak results. Grab a sixer, and let's get into the podcast.
Welcome to the Perimeter Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Morrison. I got one of the all-time great Zags, Nigel Williams-Goss, with me. Appreciate it, man.
Man, I appreciate you you coming by. It's a big time for me. This is a full circle moment for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think we've officially talked before this, right? A little bit at
the Final Four.
That's
the
it,
night before the Final Four. Yeah, and that was the first time brief.
You guys were locked in. I told the story actually. It was when Coach Few did the thing for the ex-players, which is one of the coolest things for us guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember watching you that season. That was the season before I joined the broadcast. So I appreciate you letting us come on. We're in your beautiful home here in Henderson, Nevada.
Yes, sir. No, I appreciate it.
We'll edit that out if you don't want to say.
No. Yes.
Where you live at,
let's give Henderson some love.
No, it's great. I appreciate. I usually like to tell people's bio too. 2013 McDonald's All-American, 2014 Pac-12 All-Freshman Team, 2017 WCC Newcomer of the Year, 2017 First Team All-WCC, 2017 Second Team All-American Draft Pick of the Utah Jazz. So again, man, I appreciate you coming on. You grew up in Vegas, right?
So I grew up in Portland, Oregon until I was 14.
Okay.
And then I got an opportunity to go to Findlay Prep for high school.
Okay.
And that's when my family and I relocated out here.
Wow.
And been here ever since.
So what high school would you gone to in Portland? Because we have Northwest.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was zoned for Clackamas.
Okay.
Clackamas in Three Rivers, same league as Lake Oswego, where Kevin Love went. And so that was kind of the area that I grew up in, was Clackamas. And then, like I said, I came out here for high school though.
So give us the background on Findlay Prep. I know there's prep schools. I've read a little bit. I did my research. It was started by a car dealership guy.
Yeah, so Cliff Findlay, who's actually really close with Coach Few.
Okay.
He owns a bunch of car dealerships out here, and he was kind of the backing of Findlay Prep. And, it was a little bit different back then when I was in high school, 2009, 2010, 11. There wasn't as many prep schools. You had Oak Hill Academy on the East Coast. You had Montrose Christian.
Yeah.
Perennial powerhouses and historic schools. And so Findlay Prep was the first big prep school on the West Coast. And so for me it was kind of like a dream come true almost, because growing up I would always go to the Les Schwab Invitational, which was a big high school tournament in Portland. And all those teams would come. They would come. And I remember I was 12 years old. I was in 6th grade. And Steve Smith, the coach from Oak Hill.
I played for Steve Smith at Nike All-America Camp. Keep going.
Yes. So I saw Steve Smith. He was in the hallway after one of their games, and I was staring at him, and my dad was like, go talk to him. And I was 12 years old. I went up to him, and I was like, Coach, I'm going to play for you one day.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so for me, I always wanted to be on that stage. I wanted to play against the best every day in practice. I wanted to play on the national scene, you know what I mean, ESPN games, all that stuff. So when Findlay started, my 8th grade year was the first year they were like a high school prep school.
Okay.
And they won the national championship. They had Avery Bradley, Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph.
Wow.
They were loaded. They beat Oak Hill in the championship. And so I was going to be the first freshman to go there.
Yeah,
they
first
were
original
all
class.
So they were all juniors and seniors, and I was going to be the first freshman. So when I got the opportunity, I jumped on it.
How did that recruiting process go for high school to high school? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. So I was 13. I was in 7th grade, and I was playing 17 under AU. And so I was playing with I-5 Elite out of Portland.
Yeah.
And we came out to Vegas for a tournament, and I think one of the Nike guys had told Coach Peck, you got to go watch the 7th grader. He's playing 17s. You should go watch him play. So Coach Peck came to the game, saw me play, and immediately after the game, he said, look, we would like you to come to high school for us. I know you're going to be in 8th grade next year, but once it's time to come to high school, we think it would be a good fit. So that's how he introduced himself. And then during my 8th grade year, I came down here to Henderson, practiced with the team, and kind of saw the campus and the setup. And I was like, yeah, this is where I need to be.
So how much convincing did your parents need for the family to move? Obviously, they're going to support you,
right.
But was it you guys were like boom right away, or were you like, because Clackamas is a good program, right? I'm sure there was
Again, the one thing that anyone who knows me knows how close I am with my parents. They were at every game at Gonzaga. They been in Europe, everywhere. Everywhere I go, my parents were there. So for them, it was just like, if this was what I felt strongly about, this is what I really wanted to do, they were going to make it happen no matter what. The timing of it was pretty good because my dad was in the mortgage industry, and in 2009 it crashed. So he said the market is terrible anyway right now. So I'm fine with relocating and kind of starting fresh. So
cheap.
the timing was pretty good, and so he kind of switched his work avenue around the same time. And my mom was working for herself. She always has and still is working for herself. So it wasn't like she had to quit her job or anything. And they were like, look, if that's what you guys that's what you want to do, we'll do it. So. As a family, we came down here.
So I've always been curious, what is like a prep school environment like? Is it kind of like because we'll get into European stuff and you understand like INSEP, like in France and stuff. And we talked about that with Joel Ayayi's episode. Is it kind of like a prep school where it's basketball first, even though they don't want to admit it? Can you explain to the listeners? Like,
I mean, again, I think definitely it's basketball first in a sense, because after my freshman year, the high school that we took classes at was called Henderson International, and Findlay Prep was just a basketball team.
Oh, okay.
After my freshman year, the high school of Henderson International was shutting down. They kept some of the teachers on staff just to coach the basketball team after that year. So my sophomore through senior year of high school, it was just us 12.
There was no other
high school students in the school. So so when you ask how it was ran, it was conditioning in the morning, couple classes, weights, in the middle of the day, couple more classes, practice after school.
Do you feel like you missed out on like a high school experience a little bit? I mean, you're a basketball guy, but like
honestly,
girls, parties,
honestly,
you know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I did my best of kind of like trying to branch out to other high schools in the community.
Meet people,
I had a girlfriend in high school that went to Bishop Gorman, so I went to homecoming, went to what I'm saying, all that stuff over there. So it wasn't a normal high school experience, but again, my focus was basketball and academics anyway. So I was like, I'll sacrifice it.
Okay, so when you're coming up playing at Findlay Prep, like who recruited you, like to start?
Yeah, so Washington was real early. Coach Romar was really early. He was like my freshman year. I think throughout my high school, obviously it was so long ago now, but I remember when it came down to it, it was like University of Washington, UNLV, and Harvard. Those are like my final.
You're a 4.0 kid, right?
Yeah.
So you were.
So those are my final three schools: was UNLV, Washington, and Harvard. And again, I think just after I had originally committed to UNLV as a sophomore to Lon Kruger, and then he left and took the job at Oklahoma. So once he left, I kind of knew then my sophomore year that I was going to go to Washington because me and Romar were so close. And that was one of the hardest calls I had ever made, was when I told Coach Romar that I was committing to UNLV.
Oh.
And so after that, I was like, I will never do this again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go play for him. So once Harvard got in the mix, it was a little bit different because it was Harvard, but I still was like, no, I'm going to UW.
So, like, what did UNLV attract you from the hometown aspect, or was it Coach Kruger, or was it a mix, or what was it?
So again, at the time, Coach Kruger had, he had the program rocking. They had been to a couple of Sweet 16s.
Yeah.
I was going to games,
Thomas
weekly,
and Mack gets going
and
in there.
It was rocking in the Thomas and Mack.
Yeah.
Atmosphere was great. And I committed early. I was never a kid that, like, I didn't want the hoopla of the recruiting, and that it didn't really interest me.
That's
cool. I wanted to just know where I was going.
Yeah.
It's done with. Let me just work on my game and get ready.
Yeah.
That was like my whole mindset.
That's cool.
So,
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what came down to really like me committing to UNLV was like all those factors. And then after he left, I was like, I don't really want to go to Norman, Oklahoma. So let me go back to the Northwest.
So I know Coach Romar. Obviously, I played against him. The UW teams and the Gonzaga rivalry was kind of in full force my years. What was Romar like as a coach? He always seems like, because I always see him at Pepperdine now, and we always bump into each other and like tell stories, and like he's cool as shit, and I can see why you like him, like players coach. But was he kind of like a just roll the ball out type of guy, or was he a screamer? Like, I've always wondered what he was like as a coach.
It's funny. Like, he was, to your point, he was definitely a player's coach.
Yeah,
if you were, talented and, had skill, he was going to let you rock, which he let me rock, my 2 years. But he was actually like a disciplinary, like we had a lot of rules. Like in practice, we had to tuck in our jerseys. We couldn't have facial hair. We couldn't have long hair. Like being on time was like all those things. Like he was pretty like discipline oriented. Again, I think on the basketball court, he was definitely tailored to his main guys and kind of let them kind of control the game. But again, one of the best people.
He's awesome.
Yeah, one of the best people that I've ever been.
I want to try to get him on the pod eventually.
He would be great because he has stories for days. And
I'm sure.
We would just talk. We would talk for hours about everything. So.
Well, he had so so many talented guys go through that program, and he brought that program kind of into a national powerhouse for a while there. And Seattle's such a hub for hoops.
Yep.
So, like, he's part of that culture, you know what I mean? So that's why I want to get him on. But, like, every time I run into him, I'm like, man, I could play this motherfucker too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he just
great.
seems like he's just funny as shit, and he's cool, and lets guys kind of just do their own thing. With obviously, like you said, there's going to be some rules, but he just seems like a cool cat. Who was on your team? Like, who was the guys on your team?
So we had Andrew Andrews. We had C.J. Wilcox. We had Robert Upshaw before he had some issues and got dismissed. Sean Kemp Jr.
Oh, I forgot about his son went there. I forgot about that.
I mean, was
he ever around Sean Kemp?
He came to a couple games.
He seems like a cool dude.
He came to a couple games. I didn't really meet him. Every time he was around, it was like everyone was flocking to him. But no, I mean we had some good teams. I think my sophomore year at one point we were like 13th in the country. Like we were good. We had some talent.
So what kind of went sideways for UW? And this is not like Gonzaga. We know we're better than that program.
Right.
Like people understand that, but like what kind of went sideways for your experience there and the team and then Romar leaving and all that stuff?
Like I said, I think my sophomore year, I think it was pretty simple. Like I said, but going into conference play, we were like 13th in the nation. I think we were like 14-1. We had won the preseason tournaments and all that. We beat Oklahoma, Buddy Hield and those guys in Vegas. Like we were good. We weren't super deep, but we were good. And then I think Rob. I think he got dismissed from the team like our third conference game. So once he was leading the nation in blocks. So he was kind of our anchor down low. Me and Andrew Andrews.
Yeah, it allows you to play a different style defense.
Me and Andrew were doing our thing in the backcourt, and that was just kind of like what we were doing. So after he left, we kind of changed things, and then Sean Kemp got hurt. Our backup big, Jannard Giroux, got hurt, and we had no size. We were playing like four guys, like under 6'4", you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and so we ended up like 500, but so my year, that was personally what happened.
So after that season, what made you decide to transfer? Like, what was the process for you? Was it a hard decision? Were you like halfway through the year, like, man, I got to get out of here for my pro aspect. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of things that come down to it. And I've always wanted, and this is part of your story, come to Gonzaga, is a high-level transfer. How did you come to that decision? What was the process like? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
For me, transferring, all the credit goes to my dad, honestly. I knew I wanted to leave Washington after my sophomore year. I knew I didn't want to go back. And I was thinking of entering the draft. I was a sophomore in the Pac-12, and at the time, the Pac-12 was one of the top 2 conferences in the nation. I averaged like 16.7, like 6 assists, 5. Like
had a good year.
Yeah, from a point guard standpoint, as a sophomore, I'm like, all these guys are going, like, my numbers are just as good as everybody's, you know? So I was a finalist for the Bob Cousy Award, all that. So as a sophomore, I was like, you know, I want to go pro. And my dad was like, I think you need to slow down. He was like, I think there's some things in your game you need to work on. I shot the ball terrible my sophomore year from 3, like low 30s or high 20s. You
gotta be in the 40s.
Yeah,
you do.
I didn't shoot well, which was weird though. Like my freshman year, I shot well. I had always shot well, but I didn't shoot the ball well my sophomore year, and we hadn't won. Like we didn't go to the tournament, and my dad was like, again, as a point guard, like you're the leader of the team. Like you got to show that you can, you know, command a team and win, and like I said, improve some areas of your game. So I think you should look at transferring. And I'm like, I was all Pac-12. Like, who transfers after averaging 17 a game as a sophomore?
And
you know what I mean? And playing 35 minutes a game. Like, who goes and sits out a whole year? But
hold on. Sorry to cut you off to give the context. This is not the portal years. So people listening, like, transfer, you had to sit out.
I knew I was sitting.
Yeah, you had to sit out, and that's a hard thing to do. So sorry, I just want to give context.
For sure. So I was like, so if I transfer, like I'm definitely not going to the league next year. You know what I mean? So now I'm putting it off another 2 years. But again, with the way I've always worked on my game, I was like, man, if you give me 12 months just to be in the lab and that's it, like I'm gonna be really good. You know, like I'm good now, but like I'm gonna be really good when I come back. So that like excited me. Having the 12 months to lock into my game was what sold me. And then before we get to the commitment part to Gonzaga, when I was going through my transfer process, I was only looking for who had the best plan for my redshirt year, who's gonna map that out, and then where could I go win? Yeah.
So obviously Gonzaga. Who hit you up first, and like where did that come from? Like, how does that? Did they hit you up before and kind of know? How does that work?
Yeah, so the transfer recruitment was a lot more hectic than my high school recruitment.
Because you've already shown.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, like, and it's like.
You're proven.
Yes.
So, I mean, everyone, Michigan State, Texas, Ohio State.
By Tom Izzo, he's a great coach, but.
Ohio State, West Virginia. I mean, pretty much everyone. Pretty much everyone. Gonzaga was actually, like, it sounds crazy, but they were like 4 days late to my recruitment. And in my first weekend, I had heard from like 25 schools. Yeah. Like, and so I was like, when they called me the first time, I think B Mike called me.
It was B Mike?
Yeah, my first call. And I'm like, you guys are not even going to have Coach Few call me? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just talked to that amount of Tom Izzo, Shaka Smart, and like, you're calling me with your assistant. So they were kind of late. But yeah, it was pretty crazy, the recruitment.
So like what, you know, we know – the story behind Gonzaga a little bit is player development, and that's been for years, not just redshirt guys. Well, redshirt guys, but like, you know, guys even that play for don't redshirt but sit behind a guy, like especially our bigs, they get better the next year because they kind of see what you know the process is. Was that the deciding factor for you? Obviously the winning part, but like what was Coach Few? I want to get inside. Like what was Coach Few's pitch to you?
Yeah, so when Coach Few came to the house. I want to say Tommy came to the house, and then I had talked to Travis Knight, our strength coach, on the phone, and then we had another good conversation when I came to campus. But they just had, again, to the Gonzaga fashion, they had a detailed plan of, okay, your red shirt, this is how your weights are going to be broken up. You're going to start with, you know what I mean, your explosion, then you're going to work on whatever. Like it was just very laid out, very organized. And they were like, look, if you come on a visit, you will see. Like, we can tell you how our guys work, how we work with the guys, but you got to come see it. And Coach Few was like, look, go to the gym at any time. I guarantee you someone will be in the gym. Yeah. And true to fashion, when I went on my visit, I got it in the evening, and Perk was on one hoop shooting, and Kyle Drank-Guinness was on another hoop shooting. And I was like, man, this is like, they called it. You know what I mean? And so I told myself I wasn't going to commit on any visits. I said I wanted to wait. I wanted to make a right decision. And I committed on my visit.
That's awesome. So, like, what was the culture like, you know, gym rat wise in that aspect as a hooper from UW to Gonzaga? Was it night and day? Was there guys working on their game at UW, or was it?
There was guys working on their game, but Gonzaga was the whole team. You know what I mean? Like UW, you had your few guys that were really locked in. Gonzaga was like everybody, the whole team.
Yeah.
And then what really sold me, honestly, and he knows this because we talked about this, but Josh Perkins was my host.
Okay.
And that was one of my concerns that I had told Coach Fee was like, look, you guys have a good point guard.
Yeah.
Like,
how's this going to work?
Yeah. Perk is running the show. Oh. Obviously, I want the ball in my hands. Like, I'm not leaving UW to go
play second fiddle.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know how it's going to work. And they were like, look, like we've had multiple point guard, we had Stockton and Pangos. We had, all these guys have played together. And then for Perk to host me on a visit showed me like, man, this like they're serious about winning. Like Perk doesn't care that another high level point guard is coming in because he wants to win.
Yeah.
And that was my only thing. Like as long as he was cool with it, I was cool with it.
Well, I think Perk's game is more off the ball. Let's just be honest too. And Perk's a good player. Obviously, he's all-time assist leader, but I think he's better coming off pin downs, floppy action, stuff like that. Not that he's not good in the pick and roll action, but it's like when he can be able to mix that up with a great point guard like yourself in the backcourt, I think it helped explode his game.
But I think more than just like his game fitting, like chemistry wise, it has to work too, right? Like,
absolutely.
You know what I mean? And I think just him being selfless and like
you got to be a bigger man. Yeah, you got to be a bigger man, which he is. You know what I'm saying? And be able to do that. That's not an easy task because there's always the fear. And high-level athletes like yourself and myself understand that. It's like they're going to recruit over you all the time. It's different with the transfer, but like you always have that in the back of your mind. Like they're going to bring in somebody else. Next guy coming in, man. And this is how it is, especially now at Gonzaga. Like they stack. When I was playing, we had good players, but we didn't get McDonald's All-Americans and blue chip, quote unquote. But now it's like, man, they get guy, do now. So it's like if you are in that spot, they could bring in a guy that's literally could be like a lottery pick,
right?
The next year. So that's got to be like a little bit of anxiety for a player.
Yeah, I mean, and again, going back to high school, that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to go to Findlay Prep because I knew it was going to be competition every year. Like I said, I played with every year. My upperclassmen were McDonald's All-Americans. We're going to the NBA and all this, and so I was never frightened by other good players being around me or guys coming in.
Yeah, that's a good
point.
I
was confident in myself and like I wanted to win. So that was it.
Yeah. So you get there, your redshirt year goes great. How was
it? It goes great somewhat. Okay. A lot of people don't know. I had surgery on my ankle during my redshirt year.
Okay, so how long were you out?
I was out like 5 months of my redshirt year. It was a bad injury. I heard it like right before I got to campus. I was out like a month and a half.
Were you playing when you heard it?
I was working out in the summer. And I was playing, and I landed on someone's foot. As soon as I did it, I was like, "Nah, this is bad."
Yeah.
And so I was out, like I said, and this was right before I was going to campus. So I was out like the first month and a half. Tried to come back, practiced for like 3 weeks, but like on and off, wasn't healthy at all. Went back to the doctor. They were like, "I think we got to clean your ankle out. There's too much scar tissue."
Yeah,
so then I was out another 6 weeks. It was like a 4 month in total thing. So. And again, I was working around it, but it wasn't just a consistent. The whole year I was just working, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, no, I had no fucking clue, to be honest. I thought you were just like in the gym the whole time. Obviously,
and when I was healthy, I was. But
yeah, of course.
I was dealing with that.
What was it like though when you were healthy, like playing on the scout team and stuff, and just going into murder and practice? You know what I'm saying?
Great,
was it
man.
fun?
Yeah, it was fun because we had a really good. Because like Jonathan Williams sat out with me.
Yeah.
Jeremy Jones, myself. And then, like, when Stocks or Rob would come back and play, that would be our five.
Yeah.
And
it's pretty good. Then you just go kill. You just do whatever you want on scout team.
It was fun. It was fun.
Yeah, you can talk shit.
We had some days. Like, I had no consequences. Like,
yeah, it doesn't matter. And then, like, you get to be the best player on the scout team for whoever.
Playing BYU, and they're like, nah, transition threes. I'm like, say less. I'm letting it fly.
That's awesome. So you get through that year. And you guys go into the 2017 season. Okay, so what was the mindset of that team in the locker room? Did you guys know, honestly, that you had a chance to be a Final Four, legit national championship contender? Or were you guys like, okay, we're going to be good, and then there were certain things, games, actions, moments that helped you guys propel yourself mentally and physically as a team? Or kind of walk us through it and kind of give us, what as a leader of the team. Because what was always fascinating about your experience, this is just from the outside, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure, right, is like you became a leader right away as a transfer. That doesn't happen very often. And it's a testament to you as a person and as a man and as your character, but it's a testament to Coach Few allowing that to happen too. You know what I'm saying? It takes a lot of trust to allow that to happen. So I kind of want you to explain to the fans, like going through that season as a leader, when did that thought process that you guys could be a national championship team happen, or what moment or moments?
Right. So for me, in my head, obviously Shimmick got hurt during my redshirt year. So he was supposed to be gone. When he got hurt, and then towards the end of the year, we kind of knew that he was going to come back for a 5th year. That was a big plus for me, because I'm like, okay, so now we got Shimmick coming back. Like, that's huge. Then right before the season started, I played AAU with Jordan Matthews. So Jordan calls me, and he's like, Nigel, I want to come do my 5th year, and I'm thinking about coming to Gonzaga. So I'm like, J-Matt, like, I'm telling you, this is where you want to be. Yeah. So once he committed, I'm like, okay, we got Jordan, Shimmick, me, J3, Perk. Like, we got a squad. Zach was coming in. Tilly was coming in. Like, Rui was coming in. Like, we had a squad.
Rui didn't even play on that team, which is crazy.
Like, we had a squad. So when you say, did we know, we went on a preseason, like, camping trip, team bonding type thing. And one of my favorite memories from that year was we went on like a midnight hike, just the players, no coaches, just us. And we went out to this lake, and it's kind of corny, but we were like sitting on this dock, fully pitch black, you know, in the woods. And we were like, yo, like, we have enough right here to win a national championship. Yeah. Like, we have enough sitting on this dock to win a national championship. And we just talked about, like, how crazy it would be to go to the Final Four and what we want. So, like, from day one,
you guys said
we said it and we verbalized it. And then where the leadership aspect came into play was, like, I'm not a big talker until, like, I prove it. Yeah. And so once we started practicing and people saw my competitiveness on a daily basis, I held guys accountable to, okay, if we say we're going to try to get to the national championship, we can't have bad practices. We can't play down the level of competition. It doesn't matter if we're playing San Diego or Pepperdine. Like, if we win by 60, we need to play the right way. Yeah. So when we play West Virginia in the Sweet 16, we have a solid foundation of how we're going to play. And so every day was just like me trying to hold the team, again, accountable to try to reach the goal.
I think that foundation probably as a leader happened during your redshirt year as well, too. You know what I'm saying? And where guys trusted you and understood that you're not just coming in here to try to get numbers and things like that, and you wanted to win, but you probably showed it and you had that year to establish that. And then when it became time for you to get on the court, it was probably an easier transition than it would seem if you just came in like a portal situation.
100%.
Right?
100%.
It has to be. So I kind of knew, obviously I played, so I'm like, well, I figured that, but I appreciate you sharing it. But it's funny when, people don't realize like what the bond you have to have, or like you talked about the verbalization or like the commitment you have to make. And you said it's corny, but it's things like that bring guys together. Right. And you look each other in the eye, like, in a locker room where there's a fight, or, you know what I'm saying, where you just say, hey, man, we're going to get this shit done or we're not. And if I'm going to have to point my finger at you, I'm going to wave my finger at you, call you, whatever, you have to, and vice versa, if I'm not doing it, that's when great teams are established.
Yeah, and I think people sometimes are scared to verbalize their goals. I think it would have been different if we would have just – we all knew we had a lot of talent. It could have been good, but didn't say anything. Yeah. Like, when you verbalize, like, you're making yourself vulnerable and saying, like,
putting it on the universe,
you know what I mean? You're putting it on. You're putting it on. Out in the open to say, hey, like, this is my goal. And when people know that, it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? Like, we've all heard you talk about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like you said, now what are we going to do? So, I think it definitely helped us get to that point.
So during that year, what was Fewy like with you guys? Because you guys were super talented. Like, my years, he was a little more rigid, and I've talked about this on the show, so I always get the ex-players to kind of explain his tenor and his emotion and his anxiety levels. He knew you guys were really good, so was he just like, hey, we got to clean this stuff up? Because you guys were beating the shit out of people, especially in conference. Who'd you guys lose to? Did you lose to BYU?
Last senior night, we lost to BYU on senior night.
Okay, which I thought that was a good loss.
For sure. And at the time, I didn't feel like it, but looking back on it, it was the best thing.
It was the best thing because you guys weren't going to be undefeated, right? Going into the tournament and stuff like that. So, like, what was Few's tenor during the year? Like, was he just like, let's go get them, guys, and tighten things up? Or was he always kind of, hey, guys, you guys are better than this? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got to stay up to par, even though you're beating the shit out of people.
Yeah, I think, for the first part of the season, I think he was still. I think we were still earning his trust, especially the transfers. So like me, J3, Jordan. You know, I remember we went to the Advocare tournament down in Florida around Thanksgiving, and when we got there, he was like, "Look, like." We had a meeting. He was like, "This isn't Washington. This isn't Missouri. Like, we're coming out here to handle business." You know what I mean? And like me and J3 looking at each other like, "Man, we know." But like, okay, I hear you. Like,
you just gotta say it.
You know what I mean? And so he was like, again, just letting us know like that Gonzaga's trying to be here, right? Like we're trying to be a national, not a good team, a great team.
Yeah.
And so I think we had to earn his trust. Like, yeah, we played well at, you know, schools that maybe didn't have as much team success, and now you have to win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Bottom line is you have to win now. So the first part of the season was really, you know, earning his trust. And then I think once conference started, when you asked, like, how he was with the team, a lot of it honestly came through me. We had a lot of talks before practice or, you know, before a 2-game road trip or whatever, and he would be like, look, like this is how I'm feeling. Yeah. And you know what I mean? Like, how are you feeling? Who do we need to push this? Like, we were really like that connected. And I think, you know, everyone asked, you know, they made a lot of jokes about the picture, me and Coach Few hugging when we were getting ready to go to the Final Four and we were beating Xavier, but we just had a special relationship that was built, you know, over that year.
Yeah, no, he's always obviously spoken highly of you, and Huey loves his guys, but there's certain dudes that you can tell there's a little twinkle in his eye. You're one of them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, and as far as like personality wise, I think you guys matched up similar. You know what I'm saying? Like him and I always butted heads and shit, and he didn't, you know, that's a whole nother. I had a whole podcast with him, and everybody understands those stories.
I haven't watched that one.
It's fun. It's funny because everybody, you catch the needling because we needle each other back and forth. But yeah, like his relationship now with players is a lot more smoother. But he allows guys to kind of open themselves up, and he's opened himself up to allow that to happen, if that makes sense. So I always ask the former players because I'm going off of my experience.
Your experience, right?
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's always fascinating to me because I'm like, I had a different guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's still a great coach.
It's natural, right? It's natural. Like as the program, like
you're supposed to though. Yeah, you're supposed to, and especially if you're getting better players and guys that are, you know, not that we didn't have good players, but
it's just different players, right? Like I think of
like guys higher level in the sense of higher recruited or like McDonald's All-Americans.
It's a different mindset coming in.
It is.
For sure.
Yeah, and like we were more diamond in the rough guys and, you know, all that stuff. I wanted to get your take since you were a transfer and it worked out tremendously for you. What's your opinion if you follow it? And if you don't have an opinion, that's fine. On like the portal now, do you think that guys should have to take a year if they transfer, if they're besides a coaching change? Do you think that's beneficial to young men? Because you did it that way. Or do you think, hey, man, I should have been able to go to UW to Gonzaga straight away, stepped on the floor? Because the portal now, my numbers might be wrong, but I'm not far off. There was like 14 to 1,500 kids.
It's crazy.
It's wild. Crazy. It turns into like AU circuit.
It's crazy. And I think, like, again, for the transfer thing, like, everyone has their own reason, right? And you can't say, like, somebody's reason is better than another person's reason, whatever.
You can kind of.
I have my opinion. I'm just saying in general. Like, of course, I have my own opinion, but I do think that guys transfer now for the wrong reasons. Like, again, I think, like for me, man, I knew I gave everything to the program. I knew I was doing the right things. I just knew the infrastructure at UW was not allowing us to be successful. And I gave it 2 years. I think I looked at the track record, and they had great players before me that didn't go to the tournament. Like, I was here for 2 years. We didn't go to the tournament. At some point, I don't think this is on me, and there's nothing more I can do, and I don't want to waste my college experience. So I transferred. Other people transfer again when there's maybe they didn't play their freshman year, or they didn't play well and they're blaming the coach and now they're going to leave. Like, those reasons I don't, and I think when they transfer, it doesn't work out. You know, I know guys have transferred 3 times and they didn't play well anywhere, and it was like it wasn't your team.
The game, you didn't work on your game.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't your team. So it's tough, man. And I would like to say, like, yeah, players should play right away, but like you said, I think the redshirt year is good because, I mean, you can work on your game. And I mean, I do think that it does give guys a little bit of a hesitancy to just up and leave. You know what I mean? And
you have to really sit down and think about it.
Do you really want to do this? And again, for me, it was like, for those right reasons, I was okay with doing it.
Well, I think, you know, if you're man enough and smart enough to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, look, I got to make some changes to my game. So if I do transfer, this can be a beneficial thing. I can get ahead academically or whatever too. I mean, you can always look at those positives. But I think sometimes some of the kids don't have that mindset anymore.
I think like you said, if the coach leaves, you should be able to leave. Because you go to a school to play for a certain coach, and if he leaves, you shouldn't be punished and have to sit out if you don't want to play for whoever they're bringing in. You should be able to leave and play right away. If the coach doesn't leave and you decide to transfer on your own, I see where the year comes in. Yeah, no,
it's a weird deal because you want player empowerment, and I believe that once you're 18 and you're at college and whatnot, you should be able to make your own decisions. But also, sometimes it's better when adults in the room make decisions for you. We all know that as older gentlemen now, right? We understand that, and you look back at your younger time or your younger life, you're like, man, I did make some dumb decisions, but it's nice that I had people that leaned on me. Sometimes made some authoritarian, like you talked to like your dad talked to you, like, hey, hold up, buddy, I love you, son, but we're not going to the league yet. You need to work on some stuff. You know what I mean? And like that stuff really matters. So I appreciate that, your thought process on that and your opinion, because I've always wondered what guys that had to do it the old way compared to now. But obviously a redshirt year benefit you. Nobody even redshirts anymore. Right. I mean, like even at Gonzaga, they don't redshirt guys. Yeah. Which is crazy. It's crazy. It's helped you. It helped Kelly Olynyk tremendously. David Stockton was a redshirt. I mean, you go to Wilch, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, changed his game from Kentucky to Gonzaga. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's interesting. But like I said, always wondered from, because I never experienced that as transferring, like how should it be done? Because you can't have 1,500 kids transferring. You can't. It's going to turn into circuit AAU basketball, which is nuts. Right. And you experienced that growing up. I coached my oldest daughter's team, and we've dealt with players leaving and trying to recruit. It's nuts.
Well, we talked a little bit like about the prep schools. Like there was like 5 big prep schools when I was in high school. Now, if there's a top kid in Northern California, a prep school is going to be built for this kid. That's wild. Then whoever's building the school can.
So how do you? Like, do you know off the top of your head? And maybe this is something off topic, but like, how do those schools get certified?
I don't know.
So that's what I'm saying.
I don't know. I don't know how these kids are qualifying for.
Yeah, college. How do they get qualified?
I don't know.
You have no clue?
I have no clue because we talk about it all the time. Like, kids literally didn't like what.
It's like accreditation, basically. Yeah, like when you go to like a nursing school, it's got to be accredited. And there's been stories where people get ripped off. So it's like similar with like a pop-up prep school. You're like, so basically they just have a gym and then they just have a tutor. And that counts?
And then they just go play games with this highly rated kid that's going to be gone in 2 years, and then the prep school folds. You know what I mean? Like that's what literally crazy. They're like like you said, it's like AU. Everything is turning into like a.
So did you real quick go back to the prep school stuff? Were you a legit 4, or did you go the extra?
No, I was there for 4 years.
Okay, because some guys go 5.
That's what some guys go for a prep year.
Okay,
and we were called Findlay Prep, but we weren't a prep school. Prep schools are like 5th year schools.
5th years, okay,
and
then you
context. Then you have prep high schools where they recruit kids, but you can't be a 5th year and go. You couldn't be a 5th year when I was there and go to Findlay. You had to be freshman through senior.
Okay, let's get into your post Gonzaga. So obviously we know the story. You took Gonzaga to a national championship game. I thought you guys got robbed against North Carolina with the reffing, but that's here nor there. They played a great game, blah, blah, blah. We don't have to go over it. Yeah, I mean, everybody knows the story. Right. So you were what, second-round pick for the Jazz. What was the process like going into that first camp? Did you go to their first camp, or you
I didn't go to camp because I talked to our GM. Our GM was like, look, we have 3-point guards under contract. Like, there's no room. Like, we love you, but there's no room for you right now. So you can come, like, and it was the first year, like, the 2-way contracts and stuff. So he was like, you can do that, or you can go to Europe. And he was telling me kind of like, and this is what can happen if you go to Europe. You can make some money, net, tax-free money. Yeah. You can play well, and if you play well, then you'll have,
Like still on your rights, though?
They still have my rights.
Okay.
They still have my rights. But he was just basically saying that I would have more options if I went overseas rather than staying.
Or playing G League.
Yeah, in the G League. And now when I look back, I tell everyone that you have to realize, so if I would have stayed and let's say I would have signed a 2-way contract my rookie year, at the end of the year, okay, now I'm looking at Utah like, are you going to sign me or not, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm basically in the same position that I was when you drafted me.
Yeah.
If I go overseas, they still have my rights. I kill it. Now I have a plethora of overseas teams offering me big contract money. And I'm still in that position of saying, Utah, are you going to offer me a contract? You see what I'm saying? Like, the Utah thing doesn't go away.
You gain leverage.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now you have a certain leverage that you can go and say, hey, I'm making this amount of money. Now, like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't have that leverage after my rookie year, but after I went from Partizan to Olympiacos and started playing EuroLeague
mm-hmm.
and signed a huge, pretty big deal going into my second year,
mm-hmm.
when I was negotiating after the second year, it was like, well, I can't come back on a minimum because I think the minimum was like $825 gross.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm not going to lose money to come back to the NBA.
Yeah.
Like, this is my dream, but like, I also have a family and I'm 24 now. Like, I need to make my money. So I had a little bit more leverage coming back, and it, got me a few extra dollars when I came back.
Talking about Partizan, it's in Belgrade, Serbia. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I played, to give context to listeners, I played in Belgrade with Red Star, Crvena Zvezda, the rival.
Big rivals.
But it was FMP that bought them when I first came over there, so there was a transition. So we were Red Star, but it was kind of the old FMP club. Mm-hmm. Can you just give some context to the people of, like, listening, like, how wild playing over in Serbia really is? Like what was your experience when you first came over there? Because, like, I remember when I first got there, when I played overseas, I need 25,000 when I land in my hand. All right, I ain't even step out of the cab. I'll turn around right now. Mm-hmm. You have to. Mm-hmm. And I want the serial numbers of the hundreds printed out so I know they're not fake. Right. Okay. So I do that. I get in the cab. We get my escort guy or whatever. He's like, all right, we're going to take you around the city. You see the missile building?
Yeah.
So I see the missile building. I'm like, what happened here? And he looks at me like kind of pissed off, but just like in a nice way. But he's like, you don't know? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, that was, I think it was 99, Bill Clinton. That's Yugoslavian. It was Slobodan Milosevic. My dates might be wrong, but it was recently. Right. So they leave this building up, and he's like, you guys did that. So then you have this embarrassment as an American when you come over, like, holy shit. Yeah. You're kind of scared about it. But then just, starting to play, those cats, man, over there play their ass off, and they love hoops in Serbia.
It's a great time. It's a great time to talk about Serbia, right? Because, Jokic wins the MVP, Serbian. The EuroLeague MVP, Micic, Serbian. The Euro Cup MVP, Teodosic, Serbian. Like, Serbia is a basketball country. Like, there's probably not a bigger basketball country outside of the States than Serbia.
Yes.
And so, and again, like you said, I had no idea where I was going, or like I got drafted, and it was late in the summer when I decided to go overseas. Yeah. So I didn't have time to do my research. I was just got on a plane and go.
Partizan is a really good club. Just give context.
Yeah, so really they told me it had a great history, and it was a great place to start, and teams would be watching, whatever. So, but to your point, when I went over there, I found out very quickly, like, look, like, you got to perform.
Yes.
You got to represent the club well. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, we'll love you. We'll cheer for you. We'll write, draw you murals on the wall of you. If not, man, like, stay in your apartment, go from the gym to the apartment.
Yep.
And you know what I mean? And that's how it is. Like, if you lose, like, they don't want to see you out. They don't want to see you enjoying life. Like, they want you to feel that loss.
So we played Bayern Munich in like a Euro Cup qualifier or something like that, and we beat them. And our the faction, or the soccer faction, came to the game, and their mural, or their symbol, was a guy with a hooded sweatshirt on the outline, and he had a spiked bat in his hand. Mm-hmm. These are the fans like that are coming to the game. That's like their call sign. So it was insane in there. They're throwing chairs and shit. Game starts, they throw the toilet paper,
toilet paper
shit,
all
in the courts, and you got to clean it off right when the game starts. Yeah. So we beat them. But I remember playing a game. We played. I can't remember who we played, but it was during the lockout. So Danny Green was on the team, and so it was a big game for us. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So we win, so we lose, and I had like 28-30 or something like that. And I remember getting a hot dog, like, just at a cart down the road, and the guy was like, you shoot too much, and why don't you win the game? Like, like you're saying, like, played fantastic, was efficient, blah, blah, blah. We didn't win, like, F you. Right. Get the hell out of here. And I played for Pesic.
Okay.
So you have a little context on that.
Again, for the listeners, like Kevin played for Pesic when he was at Barcelona. So no, Pesic is a tough one to play for.
Yeah.
But no, like again, I think Red Star and Partizan, I think, would probably be the second biggest rivalry in Europe.
Yeah.
The first, I would say, is Olympiacos Panathinaikos, who I played for my second year. So I've played in two of the biggest rivalries in Europe. And you really can't, like you said, you go to the arena and you have, like, the security guards. But it's not security guards like in the NBA where they have a suit and tie and their shirt.
They got
like, these are shields.
Armor.
Armor. To, like, if anything breaks out during the game, like, they're ready for damn near war. You know what I mean? So, like, it's a one of a kind environment. But again, as a basketball enthusiast, and
it's awesome.
If you love to compete, like, it's a great environment.
Yeah, you know I loved it, and it helped rejuvenate my love for basketball again, because I was coming off not playing for a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I needed it. It felt good to go to those type of games and, like, to get the atmosphere.
That were meaningful, man. Like,
dude, like, people like the kennel's great. We all know that. But you go to one of those games, they're throwing batteries at you. They're lighting flares. I mean, it's wild.
No, so like in Greece, like, you have to, like, on your ID, like your driver's license, you have to say, like, which club you are associate with, so because they won't let you into other people's clubs because they don't want fights and stuff to break out. Like, it's that, like, on your ID card. Are you Panathinaikos? Are you Ike? Are you Olympia? Like, it's that serious. And again, I don't think people Bogdanovich from Atlanta Hawks, he just was kind of talking about the fan incidents in the States.
He probably laughed.
And he was like, man, this is like
nothing.
Yeah, compared to Europe, it really is.
I like that. Not that it wasn't.
Not that you're, like, saying it's okay, but in comparison, like, it's some crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, no, I mean, they literally, like you talked about the security guards, when you go to the locker room, they form like a wall above your head because people throw, like, batteries and shit.
Quarters,
all the time. And so, like, you're out there pooping, but, like, the atmosphere and the fervor for their clubs is unmatched. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you went Serbia, then you went to Greece. Mm-hmm. Where'd you play last year?
So last year I was at the beginning of the year I was still with Utah. They waived me, and then I joined Lokomotiv Kuban in Russia, in Krasnodar, Russia, and I played the last 4 months there. And again, it was a great experience for me, and kind of like you said, that rejuvenation. Like, I didn't play a lot last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was tough, you know what I mean? Like, just strictly working on my game and not getting to express that or show that when I got on the court, you know what I mean?
It's awful. It's tough. Mentally, it is.
Yeah, and the NBA, man, is like, we don't have to get into all of that, but, you know, the outside world doesn't really understand the NBA if you're not in the NBA, right? And there's just so many things that go on. And so, and I'm not a big, like, well, let me tell you why I'm not playing, you know what I mean? It's not your business, you know what I mean? I don't really care. But for me to, at the end of this year, after I got waived, man, I just wanted to go hoop. Like, I knew I had been working on my game, and I wanted to go compete again. And so these last 4 months, man, was probably one of the most fun times I've had playing.
How long were you with Utah? 2 years, right?
So a year, basically a year and a half.
Year and a half? Mm-hmm. You were there during the Rudy Gobert COVID stuff?
Yep.
How was that, like? Because, like, now, like, obviously it's serious, but, like, you're looking back on it, it's like, you know, everybody thought it was like the end of the world, but now it's like it's whatever.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
It's part of everyday life that we deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was great. I mean, it was crazy because, like, everyone looked at you like, well, you're teammates with Rudy, and I know he had it. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, look, I don't have it. You know what I mean? But no, it was crazy because, like, you're the part of the team that kind of started. The whole world is turning now, right? Like, when the NBA, like, us versus OKC was the first game that got canceled. And once they canceled it, like, that's when everything kind of started, like, colleges. But it started with Utah OKC. So we were kind of, like, at the forefront of really everything shutting down. Up until that point, games were still going on, concerts and all that. And this was the first major event that got shut down.
Yeah, no, that it started the process with the college tournaments, like you said, and then it's just a domino effect. And rightfully so. The science wasn't out there to that.
Yeah, no one knew, right?
Nobody knew. So exactly. So, like, I want to make sure that it gets out and doesn't get clipped. But, like, looking back now, like, it was okay that he touched a microphone. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
he
didn't kill 8 people by doing that.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's what it felt like at the time. People were blaming him, but it's like he just touched a microphone. It's okay. No big deal. How was it like playing in Utah, man? Was it cool?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's a great organization. It's a great culture over there.
Yeah.
I think people
get rowdy in there too, man.
People are seeing the culmination of their culture this year as they were, had the best record in the West. And I got there at a good time but a bad time, right? Like, it was the best roster they had put together in the last 10 years. So obviously that didn't help me getting on the floor because they were no longer rebuilding. Like they were in a win now stage. But I mean, it was great. Like being around, we brought Mike Conley in, had Donovan, Rudy, signed Bojan Bogdanovic, signed Jordan Clarkson in the middle of the year. And like Jeff Green was there. Like we just had a really good, group of guys and veterans and stuff like that. And so just to learn from those guys and being around that every day was great for me.
So you just signed. Can you announce it?
Yeah, I can announce. Yeah. So it's out. I signed a 2-year deal with Real Madrid.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, which is
it's amazing. If the listeners, the context, the ACB, the Spanish league is the second best league in the world. It's no question.
Right.
And Real Madrid and Barcelona are the highest level non-NBA teams you can go to. And it's like being in the NBA, and the fact that you're going to be living in fucking Madrid is amazing.
No, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
It's amazing.
So you signed a 2-year deal.
Signed a 2-year deal.
And, so you're just excited and just.
Man, like now it's like, to me, it's like, it's almost like a dream come true, right? Like I feel like I signed an NBA deal because like you said, that's, you look at our facilities, you look at the way we travel, the way,
man,
you know what I'm saying? Like the way we live is amazing. And then for my wife, and I have a child on the way that's going to be due next month, for them to live in a city like Madrid, Spain, one of the best cities in the world. Like
you're going to make so many memories.
Yeah, like they're going to have a great time. So, man, I cannot wait.
My two daughters are 13 and 9 now. Were with me in Istanbul, and we have so many good memories because they were little. You know what I'm saying? Just experiencing different cultures, and they love children over there, especially like Western. You know what I mean? It's just so like you get to see that aspect of it, and it's going to be a fun experience for you, man. Like Real Madrid, you gonna get soccer tickets?
Man, are you kidding me? Like you can't go to Madrid and not go to a soccer game, right?
You
like,
need to go to the Clásicos.
Yeah, see Barca in Madrid.
Yeah,
or some of the Champions League games when PSG comes to town. Or
Mbappe. Yes, you got to see all that. But like, congrats on that, man. That's a pretty cool experience.
No, appreciate it.
You know what I mean? When you start camp?
So I'm getting married on the 22nd of August, and then I'll probably leave, a couple of days after that.
Yeah, head on over.
Get started. So
yeah, they're gonna give you just to give real quick. What's for when you go over for a European contract? They give you a car, right?
So let's shout out Madrid for a minute. So we're sponsored by Audi. So we basically pick any Audi. Yeah, so I'll get a nice new Audi.
Wow.
When I get there, and like I said, they help me find my apartment and all that. So
it makes it pretty easy.
Yeah.
You know any Spanish?
Not yet.
You're gonna learn
I just downloaded the Duolingo app so I can because I haven't been to any country long enough to where I felt like I needed to learn the language because I've only been places 1 year.
And the thing is too, not to cut you off, but the younger generations now, 10 years ago, but they all speak English.
Now they speak English.
Everybody does, and it sounds arrogant. But if you were permanently over there, you would learn the language.
And it makes sense, right? Because the countries are not as big as the United States. So if you live in Lithuania or you live in Italy and you're doing business with someone from Spain,
you need to learn.
You have to learn. You have to have a common language, and so that common language for people to do business outside of their own country is English.
Yeah, no, it's English is everybody's second language, and it's like when I was in Serbia, people were like, "How'd you get around?" I'm like, most of the
they
younger
spoke
people,
enough English, right?
Yeah, and you just look at the younger people, and they knew, you know what I mean? They get taught it at kindergarten on through, so it was nothing new to them. And same thing when in Turkey, but it's just if you go to a 55-year-old dad or something, he'd probably easily be like, "F you, man, I don't want you to,"
right?
You know what I mean? But again, man, I appreciate you taking the time. This is cool. Like I said, we're in your beautiful home. You got a child on the way. That's exciting news. I'm a dad of 3. You're going to love it. And it's cool that they get to experience you still playing. You know what I mean? And, again, I watched it from afar. It was the year before I started covering Gonzaga, but you changed the whole culture there, man. Making that transfer, being a McDonald's All-American, and then just the leadership that you showed during that whole season was fantastic. And you could see it. I remember talking to either your brother or somebody at the game. I said, "Man, he changed this whole fucking deal, man. He really did." So I finally get to tell you that personally. But you helped elevate the program to a level where it wasn't before. We got close, but we finally went over the edge. Now we're getting the guys where we should be back. We should be back and finally get over the hump. But it's cool to we got a guy from UW that's a Zag now, and he's always going to be a Zag for
always
this.
Zag.
You know what I mean? So. I've always said this to the guys that come on the show, the ex-players, come back for a week and just play with the guys if you can.
Yeah.
Mentor them a little bit. We used to do it. I think that's the only thing that's been lost a little bit with the higher level players. But like, come back, go bust their ass for 3 days and pick up and help those kids.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But again, man, I appreciate it.
Man, like I said, for me, growing up watching you and
thanks, man.
In my opinion, the best Zach that's ever came through there. No offense to Stockton or anyone else.
He don't care. Yeah. Stockton's all of his stuff. His episode was 2 episodes ago, and he was like, I didn't even know I was gonna be an NBA player at Gonzaga. So like, but I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, for me, like I said, to have you here, you probably like, damn, why did this dude respond so quick? But as soon as you hit me about this interview, I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a legend. Like, he wants to come to my house. Like, of course. So
cool, man.
This was great, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, good luck. I'm gonna be watching Real Madrid. Don't wear a Messi jersey or they're going to kick your ass.
Yeah, for sure.
But again, man, appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. If you enjoyed this episode of The Perimeter, make sure to go check out Sack and Jack, featuring 2 Zag alums, one from the court, Robert Sackery, one from the booth, Jack Ferris. That's Sack and Jack. Find it wherever you listen to podcasts. The Perimeter with Adam Morrison is brought to you in partnership with Speak Studios and Mercedes of Spokane.